Good, how are you?
Jared Golden is the Democratic candidate in Maine's neck-and-neck race for the 2nd District. He and his opponents have to consider something that federal candidates haven't had to do thus far in U.S. history: a new way to vote. In 2016 and again in 2018, Maine voters approved ranked choice voting. It's a new voting system that supporters say could solve political problems like minority rule, negative campaigning, and costly recounts.
A simple, fair, common-sense system of voting.
Opponents say it's a partisan power grab.
It's not fair and it's unconstitutional.
In reaction to the election of the state's controversial Republican governor, Paul LePage.
It's not purely a reaction to our current governor, is how I would look at it. People have a right to reform our election system.
The way most U.S. elections work is called plurality voting. Voters cast a vote for a single candidate in a field. The candidate with the most votes wins. In ranked choice voting, instead of selecting just one candidate, voters can choose to rank the candidates. They mark their favorite as number 1, their second favorite as number 2, and so on. When the votes are tallied together, if a candidate gets 50% plus 1 of the vote, that person is the immediate winner. But if no one gets the majority, the candidate with the least amount of votes gets eliminated, and those votes are transferred to the voter's second choice. If someone hits more than 50% that round, then a winner is declared. If not, the candidate with the lowest votes gets eliminated again, and those votes are applied to the voter's next choice, and so on until someone gets a majority. The race for Maine's 2nd District is the kind of race where ranked choice voting has the potential for a big impact. Golden and his opponent, Republican Representative Bruce Poliquin, are in a dead heat in the polls. And there are 2 other independent candidates in the race, Will Hoare and Tiffany Bond.
Maine has a long history of vote splits with independents, and by all accounts of the polls, the people who vote for me will be determining the outcome of the race.
Vote splitting is something that third-party candidates can do under plurality voting, which, remember, is the voting system that most voters are used to. When voters have a choice between candidates with overlapping platforms, those candidates will both lose the election because the voters are split between them, allowing the other candidate to win with a plurality, not a majority. You end up with minority rule. Vote splitting has made a difference in some big elections. Remember the 2000 presidential election? Green Party candidate Ralph Nader arguably swung the election to George W. Bush, whose electoral victory was decided by almost 600 individual votes in Florida. Nader had 97,488 votes in Florida. Maine has a history of candidates winning with a plurality, but not a majority of the vote, including Governor LePage. But with ranked choice voting, polarizing candidates that alienate voters, like LePage, are at a disadvantage. While these candidates may have a devoted base of voters that could make up a plurality, the candidate who wins will always be the one preferred most by the majority of people. That often gives a leg up to broad, centrist candidates, something that could be seen as a drawback of the system, but also as a benefit, as it can bring candidates together.
On June 12th, you can vote for me first and Betsy second,
or me first and him second,
and discourage mudslinging in contentious campaigns, although that isn't always the case.
This is why we're getting nothing done.
In most races, including Maine's 2018 primaries, the plurality winners end up winning under ranked choice as well. Many voters see ranked choice as an improvement over the traditional plurality voting system, regardless of their party.
Ranked choice voting gives me an opportunity to at least express my opinion. And it also puts the major parties on notice.
It's a great opportunity to say, I agree most logically with this person. Though they may not have the best chance, I can now vote my conscience and not feel like those votes are cast aside.
I'm actually kind of proud of Maine because we're setting the example for the rest of the country.
Mainers voted to institute ranked choice voting twice in statewide referendums after the state legislature and the Republican Party repeatedly attempted to stop its implementation.
The left has decided that they cannot take 8 years of Paul LePage, so they have decided that they are going to legislate at the ballot box.
In practice, both the Democratic and Republican parties have supported ranked choice voting when it's politically expedient.
Ballot Measure 1 will adopt a fairer voting method called instant runoff voting. It will lead to good government because Alaska will elect leaders who have the support of a majority of voters.
Representative Poliquin's campaign did not respond to repeated requests for comment about his thoughts on the new voting system. Golden, however, is optimistic about the change and its impact on his campaign.
Tiffany Bond and Will Horvath also did it. They're independent.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, bodes well for ranked choice voting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
People would say to me, oh, what's your strategy for ranked choice voting? And I would say, well, it's the same strategy I've used in every election. I think you should always seek to have the broadest base of support, and there are some that think that in a ranked choice voting system you should target your message to this plurality of voters and this message to that group, and that sounds cynical. So I just run the same campaign I would regardless.